I do not want it to be my fault that my athlete is not prepared physically or mentally for what they're about to face. Like as a coach, it's our responsibility to give our kids all of the tools that they need to be successful. Here's the truth. If your culture is not right, your players will not stick around. It doesn't matter how great your drills or your systems are. They will be out if they are not connected or feeling like they belong in your culture. But as a coach, it's hard to know, what do we do to develop this culture and this leadership where it matters? As a head coach myself for the past 14 years, I've won 4 state titles as a coach, and I have tested hundreds, maybe even thousands of resources when it comes to the books and the strategies and the drills and all of the things that you can use as a coach. And I've distilled it down to my top 5 resources that I would recommend to all coaches. They have withstood the test of time, and I'm going to be breaking them down and how they help with culture, leadership, and the mental game. Now, before I get into what these resources are, I do want to give a shout out to a coach in our community. His name is John. He's actually a college volleyball coach who is using our program, Plug and Play Elite Mental Game for Teams. This is literally our plug and play system for coaches who want to incorporate mental training and they don't have a lot of time. And he said, we've done a fair amount of this type of thing in the past, but it was a bit haphazard. So having a plan to work through is awesome. What I love about this and what John said is that, yeah, as coaches, we probably have actually done a lot of chat GPTing and Googling and Instagram and TikTok research to try and piece some things together for our teams. And I know I used to do that a lot, and which is kind of where I stumbled across some of these resources. But honestly, it's not great to do it in that way because 1, it spends a lot of your mental energy trying to piece it together. And 2, it's not really tested. You don't really know if what you're going to do is working. So I love that John brought that up because our plug and play system is literally just a system that you follow and you don't have to think about it. It's already proven. You press play for your team, you lead a short discussion afterwards, and there it is. So if you want to learn more about plug and play EMG, head to our free training at coachfreetraining.com. I laid out some really easy mental training things that you can be doing in your practices, but also tell you all about plug and play EMG, and you get a discount at that training. All right, let's get into it. The 5 resources that I recommend. Number 1, Bruce Brown's little pamphlet booklets. I have all of them. I believe I have all of them. Okay. The one that I recommend, it's called Captain's 7 Ways to Lead Your Team. So I actually have been using Bruce Brown's resources. He is a former football coach. He's actually from the area where I live, which makes it really cool, but he's, nationally known as a coach who is really great when it comes to leadership, culture, kind of all of those things, but I use him primarily for leadership development. I have used all of his resources. They're simple, they're little pamphlets. Like I said, the Captain 7 Ways to Lead Your Team takes your athletes through like 7 different ways to be a leader and what it means to be a captain. So I actually give all of my members of my leadership core a book, the 7 Ways to Lead Your Team, and it's kind of the training material that we use as they go through the season. That is number 1, Bruce Brown. You can look him up. I've used him as well as like a guest speaker. He's come in now. That is, I don't know if he does that anymore, just because he stopped to kind of slow down a little bit doing some of that, and I don't know if he travels as much anymore, but definitely his resources online like this are very helpful. Okay, number 2, this book, Wolf Pack by Abby Wambach, is a really short, punchy read for athletes, kind of what it means to be a female leader as well. Like when we are walking this line of like, be bold and confident, but don't be too loud, don't be bossy, like kind of those dichotomies that a lot of girl athletes deal with. This is a great resource because Abby dives into all of that. It's a lot also does a good job of what it means to be like an inclusive leader, what it means also to be a leader who like leans into her own personality. And so what it means to not just be a leader, but have a strong culture that's inclusive and, just really strong this is a good resource for that. Okay. So those are 2 that I would put into like kind of the leadership bucket, Bruce Brown's resources and Abby Wambach's book, Wolf Pack. These are good ones to start with. Okay, we're going to move on to the culture bucket. And I mean, there's a lot of things that influence culture, but if we're not intentional with culture, then it just becomes what it is and we kind of leave it up to chance. And you have to design your culture the way that you want it. in order to make it strong. And one of the resources that I have used a lot is the Culture System by JP Nerbun. So JP Nerbun, along with Betsy Butterick, actually, she's a communication specialist, by the way. They both have little bonus trainings inside our program, Plug and Play Elite Mental Game for Teams, which I'll talk about in a second. But JP Nerbun he is great when it comes to how to kind of lay out tangibly what it means to have a strong culture and what systems are in place. But if you're looking like, well, what does it actually look like to implement like systems to support a culture that I want? This is a really, really good starting place. So he also has a book that came out recently around like how to deal with teen parents. I think I have it up on my bookshelf here somewhere, or not just teen parents, but how to deal with parents and how to have like healthy relationships with your players' parents. One of the main things, as much as like that, the decision from those players was like, there's a lot that went into it with parents and all of that. That wasn't good. I also had to take a look at my own culture and, you know, what systems I had in place to support these athletes and where my blind spots were. And one of the resources that I leaned on was the culture system and the player impact plan that came out of that. And I started implementing player impact plans in 2023, and they've just made a huge difference when it comes to clarity. So just a note on that. Okay. The other in the culture bucket, this is volleyball specific. Gold Medal Squared. And I am not affiliated with Gold Medal Squared. The reason why I like GMS, Gold Medal Squared, and I've been doing it since, it's been over 10 years, is because it gives my program a common language. And so that can apply to all, right? All programs, all sports. So what happens if you don't have something like this? You don't have like ways that you teach certain skills or ways that you structure practice, then it becomes everyone is just doing a different thing. And I see this a lot in clubs as well, but also happens in high school programs where it's like the C team coach is doing a random thing and a JV coach is doing a random thing. And then when they get to varsity, it's like totally different than what they experience on JV and C. And I wanted to have a seamless approach to my program because I wanted players to like develop up into varsity and not be like, oh, well, on C team, we learned this way to do it. And now I'm doing it this way. And it's completely different. So this gives us like a common terminology throughout our whole program. It also gives a really great way to structure practices so that we're not wasting any time in transitioning. And there's just great resources in here to, just help really make this not just streamlined, but it's all rooted in stats and rooted in research and, why do we pass like this? And it kind of explains all of that behind it. And there's just so much less wasted time. There's purpose behind things. So I highly recommend Gold Medal Squared for volleyball coaches, but for coaches who are not volleyball, just a way that you have a common language and common systems throughout your entire club or your entire program is kind of the takeaway there. Okay, the last bucket that I want to talk about is the mental game. Obviously, I'm passionate about the mental game. I am a mental performance coach. It really is what has changed my coaching. It is my secret sauce. It is what has allowed my teams to perform at a very high level. The last resource that I would recommend, I do it with my team. I've been doing this for about 6 years, but it is Plug and Play Elite Mental Game for Teams. So I have our coach facilitation guide here, but basically Plug and Play Elite Mental Game for Teams is the simplest way to make sure that you are checking that box and giving your athletes the skills that they need to perform. I would say that like as a coach, it's our responsibility to give our kids all of the tools that they need to be successful. I do not want it to be my fault that my athlete is not prepared physically or mentally for what they're about to face. 5 minutes a day of little daily mindset routine. We call ours the 3-2-1 Brave, incorporating a snapback routine. That's like a failure recovery system. So skills when it comes to knowing like how to respond to pressure, how to respond to setbacks, how to prepare mentally for a game. And the best teams and the best athletes do not just train the physical part of the game. And I know you know this as a coach. So Plug and Play EMG is like the simplest way to do it. I package it up. It's exactly what I do so that you can just press play, lead a little short discussion, which also aids in like some team bonding and some camaraderie. And so if you want to learn more about how to implement Plug and Play with your team, go to that free training. It's at coachfreetraining.com. That'll lay it all out for you. Plus you get a little discount for being at the training. Okay. So those are the 5 resources that have really stood the test of time. And I've tried a lot of different things. I'm curious, comment below, like what resources do you stand by? What are the ones that you're like, yep, this is a go-to for me, either when it comes to culture or leadership or mental game, let me know in the comments, because I'm also open to learning more and implementing more into my toolbox. But these are the 5 that I highly recommend when it comes to leadership, culture, and the mental game. All right, coaches, I'm Coach Bre. I am the host of the Coach Game podcast, and I will see you in the next episode.